So for today's recap, I only have one trade. I only took one trade today. I took that on my Webull and my Robinhood simultaneously. On the Webull, I took profits pretty quickly at 30%, and then I finished for the day up 1.99% on the portfolio. And then on Robinhood, I scaled out, and then I held a couple of runners, and those runners allowed the Robinhood account to be up 7% as opposed to the 2% on the Webull. So my Robinhood's a little bit more risk on as opposed to my Webull, which is a bit more risk off. So I'll go through the setup. So we have some zones here. So I like to get as many zones as I can that are relevant for the time. So the first zone down here is this demand zone from low of day here, Friday the 13th, and then so right below that is another demand zone. And this zone right here is from Friday the 20th, high of day. This zone is from yesterday's low of day. This zone is from the 18th high of day, and then the zone above that is yesterday's high of day. And then the top zone is from 2 days ago high of day. So those are my zones, and then I have my fib levels plotted, and I'm going to replay the price action so we can see how today went. So we dumped at the open, found support on the 394 or 395-ish level, continued to dump, bounced there, went back to the 21 EMA in the supply zone and rejected, and then continued to dump. Again, tried the 21 EMA and rejected. Bounced right off of this demand zone. So that was kind of like the bottom for the day. Right. Looks like we reject this supply zone, but we keep going. So we closed in the supply zone, good sign. I get the buy indicator. So we have the bullish 921 EMA cross. We were above VWAP. We have an increase in volume on this breakout, and what's nice is kind of stair-stepping up in volume as we continue to go higher, which is a really good sign of strength, and we have a green MACD. So enter calls here, and my high target on these was the top of this supply zone. That's where I wanted to take profits, and so we do end up going there, and that is when I take profits on my Webull, so that was 30%, and I continue to hold on my Robinhood, so we bounce off of this fib level and bottom of the supply zone right there. We hit the 200 EMA perfectly, and we reject, and then we pull back to the 9 EMA, we dump a little bit, we find support on this demand zone, and then we continue on our way up. Looks like we reject the top of the supply zone, but then we are able to break out, bounce back to the top of that zone, and we just kind of continue up here. And then here we almost broke out of this 400 level supply zone, but we failed, and then we rejected and found support at the bottom of that zone. And then we found support on this fib level in 200 EMA. Tried again. This time we broke out. And then we made a slight move higher. And then we pulled back to the 21 EMA, and I think that's where we closed the day. So I'll show you where I scaled out. So I took my 30% my Webull right here at the top of this zone. And then on Robinhood, I scaled out. So at first was this rejection of the 200 EMA, which I was, at this point, I was at 116% on those calls, so I scaled out. And then I left just one runner on the table. And the criteria for that runner is if we close below the 9 EMA, I would take profit on that runner. And so we ran all the way up. We failed to break out of this 400 supply zone, and then we closed right here below the 9. And so that's where I took my profits, and ultimately that was $400 calls, and those were for 440%. So really good day, just needed one trade and a very clean trend, and so yeah.